Hey guys, what is going on? Sharp Thinking here. So I wanted to do a conclusive analysis video on the Microtech stitch. Now the reason I've expedited the video a little bit is because the knife is currently in production. A lot of the knives I do videos on are not being produced at the moment, at least. And I mean, plenty of knives that get discontinued that I don't think should have been discontinued. But I review them anyway because I think they're worth it. Just because a knife is discontinued does not mean it is not a great knife. So I wanted to do the video today just because it is available, and I think the knife is first and foremost cool as fuck. And I think it has a lot to offer in spite of it having some downsides. And if you're looking for a gentleman's knife, this just is not going to be it. If you want something that's going to carry super well in the pocket, this is not going to be it. It's not. It's kind of along the lines of a Strider SMF, a Mannix 2 from Spyderco. It's just a big, overbuilt knife. So, with that being said, let's get into a size comparison. Got the solid OD green one here. Let's get some Microtechs in. Here it is against the SOCOM and the Sigil. This kind of reminds me of the Stitch, but like a slim version, which it would be super cool if they made a Stitch in a manual configuration. Just want to throw that in there in case Microtech watches this. Here it is against the, what is it, Sebenza 21 and Umnumzon. So you can see it's kind of a normal size knife. It's just really thick and wide. Here is a Ultratech I broke the other day. It's kind of a gravity knife now. So if you push this forward, it locks. But when you... I thought I had that figured out. No? Oh, well. Alright, whatever. That's an Ultratech LUDT. And... oh, see, now it goes. I don't know. Here are some hinderers. So yeah, definitely not a huge knife in terms of overall length. It's just wide. It's a fucking wide knife. And I don't know. I think it's a badass looking profile. For me, and I'm not saying I don't like Strider, when I got this knife, I sold my SNG. Now, I was already considering selling it because if you guys don't remember what my SNG looked like, it had that rainbow lock scale and a stonewash blade. I wanted kind of a more badass Strider, which I think is pretty reasonable because, I don't know, that knife just did not seem like a Strider. This knife, when I got it in hand, completely obliterated the need for me to own that knife. Objectively speaking, I think it's a better knife. You could argue that the heat treat on these knives is not well done at all. And that is a pretty unfortunate and actually pretty accurate statement. But it's not that the heat treat protocol isn't good. Microtech wet grinds, they have a really good heat treat protocol, but the Rockwell hardness that they aim for on their knives is just not that high. So they aim low and hit, which is pretty funny considering most other companies have the opposite issue. They will hit 62 Rockwell on the flats, and then the grind will be, whatever it is. Lion Steel, their M390 was like 60, 61 on the flats, and then like 55 on the on the grind. So Microtech has the complete opposite problem. They just run their knives soft, which I don't get. Talking about blade steel on these guys, which I guess I'll just jump straight into. They make a large variety of knives in M390 and 204P. It's not a steel that they do very well. It's okay. It'll hold an edge kind of like S35VN or S30V. It's not anything amazing. I think go watch Outpost 76's video on Microtech's M390 and you'll see what I'm talking about. You don't have to dislike the video because I'm saying it. It just doesn't cut as long. I think they're aiming for 59 HRC. With M390, it's just not enough. The 3V, and this is my first experience with 3V. Actually, that's not true. I got this guy. This is kind of a rare bird at this point. It's a Hinderer XM18 Monkey's Edge in 3V. Which I'm going to be talking about that in upcoming videos. But I don't have enough use on this to speak to whether this 3V is good or not. I can tell you that the majority of my use is on this knife. This 3V sharpens up very well. It gets extremely sharp with not a lot of work. But that's not saying too much, considering it doesn't take a lot of work to get any knife sharp. Unless you have some geometry issues or you have to reprofile the whole knife. It does tend to leave a little bit more material on the stone faster than M390, but I don't know. For most guys, they're not going to tell. Now, I do think it is really, really cool that they made this knife in 3V. I think it fits kind of the overall vibe of the knife. Okay, use your knives or don't. Like, either way, I don't give a fuck. You don't have to use your knives. Like, I used to all the time. I'm now a student full-time. I don't get to as much. It doesn't matter. Having this knife in 3V is just cool. Guys that are in the community know what 3V is. They know what the knife is. It's just a cool... I don't know how to explain it. There's just something about 3V folders that are in this style that makes them cool. I don't know. And that's the same with the Monkey's Edge SNG. I would love to own that knife, but guys think they're so cool, even though the 20 CV is basically the same. You'll probably get better edge retention, and most guys would probably benefit more from having a 20 CV SNG because their heat treat is actually quite good. Now, the difference between the Monkey's Edge in 3V and a 20 CV Strider is guys just think it's cooler. So on the secondary market, you'll pay $500 for a 20 CV and $1,000 for one in 3V. When really, I think 3V is cheaper to buy as material. But kind of off topic. Yeah, so it's offered in XHP. You can find them 204P, M390, and then I think the first 200-ish of these were done in 3V. Kind of hard to come by, but I did see one listed for sale today for $270, and that was in 3V. So the 3V, which again I have the most experience with on this knife, held up pretty well. It's not great, it's not fantastic, it won't blow you out of the water. It's fine. Which kind of sucks to say because the rest of this knife is so much better than that. And that's the same deal as this. SOCOM. The knife is insane. If they ran this at 62, what else would you carry? It's just blows my mind. But I digress. Yeah, so blade shape is definitely a cool looking spade-ish blade shape. I think it's super useful. You have access to the entire cutting edge while cutting on a flat surface, such as a cutting board or a table or whatever it is. I love that. I love when you have full edge accessibility. It's something that you don't see that often. A lot of times flippers, the flipper will obstruct the knife's ability to cut if you are cutting on a flat surface. And that's not oftentimes the case, but in my own use and kind of the tasks I have to do, it's something that happens quite often, especially in food prep, which I guess you could use this for, but I personally wouldn't. So yeah, blade shape is sweet. The knife is very thin behind the edge. It does suffer from the typical Microtech grind, which is not going to be apparent on this because it's new. I use my black aluminum one. But they grind very thin down here. So this is with the angle it's at now. I would say 10, 12 thousandths behind the edge. And if you were to use a consistent angle sharpener like an Edge Pro or a Wicked Edge KME, something like that, the knife will thicken up at the tip, which you can see has happened here. So super thin at the base, kind of thicker at the tip. I don't know why Microtech does that. It seems to be a trend on every single knife that they have, even this. Less so on this because it is so thin behind the edge, much thinner than a SOCOM or this stitch right here. But yeah, it does cut very well, which is not common for a knife like this. It cut, I mean, okay, at the base down here, it's probably half as thin as a PM2. Definitely extremely impressive, but not a surprise coming from Microtech. All of their knives I have on the table, with exception to the broken and decrepit Ultratech, they're all around 10 thousandths behind the edge. It's such a good thing they have going, and it adds to my disappointment with the heat treat. They just... I know they're not going to change it, and it makes me so upset to even think that, but it's just unfortunate because these could be such dominant EDC knives, especially the SOCOM and the LUDT. It's just sad, but yeah, sharpening choil, I like to see that, especially the way it's done on this knife. If you're cutting cardboard with, say, the Sabenza, it happens a lot with this knife. Cardboard can get kind of snagged in this area. It doesn't happen often, and when it does, it's not a huge deal, but it does happen. Same goes for, where is it? Oh, I sold my SNG. I'm here looking for my SNG that I just talked about, telling you guys I sold it. God, I got issues. But yeah, not the case with this knife. It's, if it does hang up a little bit, it just kind of pulls on through. Not a big deal. But yeah, thin behind the edge, broad blade shape, very, very thick. I think it's 4 mil, maybe a little bit more, 4.5. So, pretty cool. This one is a green Cerakote. When I bought it, I thought it was a black. Cerakote does not hold up super well. You can see this one I bought from Bama Knife Guy. I've not sharpened it yet, but it looks like there's some rolls and whatnot. So I imagine he's used this. This is the one I did not use. This is the one I used. But yeah, it doesn't hold up super well. You can see on my LUDT, the wear just kind of peels off almost. But it does look cool. So if you're into coatings, they do offer these in several coatings. I know that they make a signature series that is in a legitimate DLC. If you really need a coating that's going to hold up, I would definitely go with that. I think they are going to be hard to find and pretty expensive though. So moving on to ergonomics. Man, so close. So close. This one is much more comfortable. The big kind of imperfection with this knife is not anything to do with the handle. The handle is very ordinary. It doesn't have a lot of contours to it. Of course, it's got sort of a banana shape, but it doesn't have big choils or a lot of jimping that's super sharp or anything like that. It's really just the clip. And what I find interesting is that these are from almost the same run. Both are from 2017. This clip is extremely uncomfortable. It sticks up a lot more. It doesn't have as much of a bend back down, whereas this one doesn't stick up much at all. I mean, I don't know. It's not a huge deal, but the only hot spots I can feel are from the clip. This knife, you can still feel it. Sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. This knife is painful. It is so bad. I'm sure I could fix it, but I'm probably not going to keep this for very long, just because it's a lot of money to have tied up. And really, the only reason I get to 3 or 4 is for these videos. So this one is probably going to get sold. And there's more to it than that, trust me. This whole knife kind of threw a wrench in, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. So, ergonomically, it's pretty versatile grip. You can grip the knife basically anywhere. Yeah, there are little contours in the handle. They're not harsh enough to where it feels like you're restricted to any certain grip. Now, of course, there's a choil up here, and you can grip the knife like this. You have so much leverage in this grip. There's not really anything I could think of that has this same amount of leverage capability as this knife in this grip. It's just insane. You can put so much force down. You have so much control over the knife. If you're into knife fighting, which I hope you're not, for safety's sake, but I do not think anybody could get this knife out of someone's hand in this grip. You just have so much control. It's awesome. Definitely my favorite way of using this knife is in the choked up grip. If I'm just opening a box, of course I don't need to do all that. I'll just hold it like this. But yeah, definitely cool. The ergos remind me of a Strider in a lot of ways, because you do have that huge choil up front. And it's almost like if someone ground off the slant to a Strider, which is why I ultimately sold my 20CV SNG. So let's talk about, ergonomics still. Handle, contoured, good stuff. I like it. It is not going to be the same kind of handle construction that you see on the LUDT and SOCOM. So these are just flat aluminum. It's pretty inexpensive to machine aluminum just in like a flat piece, like on these two knives. I think the reason for the increased cost, which these are just under 400, and on the secondary market they're about 350 normally. I think it is due to the 3D machined handle and the just extra details that go into this knife. It is contoured on this knife because of the clip being done, in my opinion, correctly. The ergonomics are so good. You don't feel that clip really at all. If you bear down on it for a while, yeah, you'll feel it. But the corners are rounded off. It's flattened. It's good to go. I really do not know what happened here. It's just unfortunate, that's all. So, where do I want to go next? Let's talk about the issues that I had with the green one. So, I got this last week, and I'm playing with it, and I go like this. Interesting. Not a problem on this. So I open it. Up and down play. Now, I have no clue what Lee put this knife through. But it does have play. Kind of an issue. It worries me because the lack of wear that is on this knife. It has been carried a little bit, but there's no spine whack marks, and I forgot to ask Lee about it, because I know he will spine whack knives from time to time. I actually was on the phone with him when he hammered this one. I bought both of these from him, by the way. I think he took this one and just started chopping into a log. He's a character, but kind of worries me a little bit that there is play in this. It's side to side, which I could adjust out if I wanted to. And it is up and down, as well as being in the handle. What I noticed about this other 3V stitch is that the reason it doesn't move is because it makes solid contact with this post right here. That is not the case on this one, thus why it moves. So I don't know if maybe both of these were drilled incorrectly. It does happen. It happens at any price range, aside from customs, because they are hand fit and checked to a higher degree. But I do believe it can still happen at customs. It's not what I'm saying, but it's less likely because of the amount of actual human contact that they come into. Now, I don't know exactly what to think about that. I have used this. I've seen Lee beat the fuck out of this knife, and I have personally used it as a shovel for cutting into, well, not really a shovel, kind of a trowel, I guess. But I've used it to cut through the dirt and dig holes a little bit, and it's held up much better than this. So I don't think that the problem that's occurring with this knife is a problem with the stitch. I think it's a problem with this stitch. So just a reminder, there are problems with every single production knife. You guys know my non-flipper XM18. That knife, $425. It's off center. Not a big deal. Is Hinderer going to fix it? I don't know, because I don't really care. It's an off-center blade. If you want it to be a showpiece, then maybe you'll care. But to me, a standard Hinderer is not going to be a showpiece. Same with these. Borka blades, by the way, does make custom stitches. They are amazing. I got to handle one at River's Edge Cutlery. My boy Jamie had one, I think. Yeah, I think he did. And it is insane. Those knives are so incredibly nice, and the grinds are so insanely clean. Unfortunately, they are normally about $2,500 or more for a folding knife. A lot of people are not going to be able to pull that. So, boom, another selling point. Let's see, what else? Talking about the hardware. Oh my god! I love this. So you can take these knives apart. They're autos from Microtech that you can take apart. Fucking sweet. These two I can't take apart. I love that. This thing. I don't even know. yeah, you can take these apart. Make sure you know how to put them back together. If you want me to make a video taking them apart, I will. It does not void the warranty. That is a big misconception that people have about Microtech. What voids the warranty is when you take it apart, you mess something up, and now you have to send it back for them to reassemble. That is what they do not want you to do. If you need the knife taken apart, I would recommend, say you submerge the knife. Say you have a 3V stitch, you submerge it, you don't know what to do, you can't take it apart. What I would do, personally, is I would take a fucking ton of oil, spray it through the pivot so you don't get any rust, throw it in a Ziploc bag. Oil is not going to hurt this knife, so coat it completely, drench it in oil, send it to them, and they'll fix it. Really, that's what I would do. If you don't have the confidence to put the knife back together, do not take the chance. If you do and you can't get it together, DM me on Instagram. I'll help you out in any way I can. But yeah, definitely pretty amazing to see that, you know, they went with standard screws. I love that. The knife does come with a lanyard. I left the one on this because, I don't know, probably not going to keep the knife, so I don't want to make the decision to take it off for whoever gets it next, especially when I have one that already doesn't have a lanyard. Talking about overall quality, these knives feel nicer than the LUDT. They feel nicer than the SOCOM in terms of just build quality. At least on this, I have handled several of these at this point, maybe 5, 6, which is really only due to River's Edge Cutlery allowing us to meet up there. And I don't know, shout out to them for letting us do that. But yeah, super nice knives. Definitely kind of justifies the higher asking price versus something like the LUDT or a similar constructed knife would be the Auto SOCOM. It's got the same button, same kind of general feeling to it as a SOCOM, but these feel much nicer. Just overall, I don't know. There's something just different about them. It might be the weight. But speaking of weight, I think these are 5.8 or 6.8 ounces. I knew it at one point. I forgot. Just because I'm doing this video right now. It's probably the reason why I can't remember. It's a lot. If you're just carrying a knife and a gun, I don't think it's a huge deal, though. Yeah. We'll talk about the action. I know a lot of people are big into the action. I don't really care. It fires hard. It fires fast. Both of these fire harder than my LUDT. Could it be the weight of the blade? Probably. But it's amazing that this knife is faster than my LUDT because not only does it fire harder, but it is also faster because I would think it's the same spring. I don't think Microtech is running a different spring in these knives. So if it's the same spring opening up a heavier blade, it's just kind of odd to me that it would be faster than a blade that is like this. I mean, there's nothing to an LUDT blade. The knife weighs like 3.8 ounces, or maybe less, 3.4. By the way, I have to send this in again because spring. I just have great luck with springs. But to be fair to this knife, I have probably carried this more than the Ultratech, and in recent months, the LUDT, and the spring has been fine. It's still holding up. It's been washed. It's been cleaned. I took this one apart. It's still holding up. So yeah, I think I'm just about done with the video. Trying to think if there's anything else I can add. yeah, I think that's really it. So, definitely a cool knife. I recommend it. I think it has a lot to offer. Ergonomics are fantastic, depending on the clip. The knife is just tough. I don't think it's going to fail on you. This button lock is very secure. It's one of the better locks in my opinion. I know I give frame locks a lot of love. I don't think a frame lock is going to be as secure as these button locks. Now, I'm going to ask Lee and probably put a comment and pin the comment what he did to this to make it like this, and I'll ask him if it failed when he spine whacked it, but I don't think either of these would fail if I spine whacked them. In fact, yeah, some light spine whacking. We're good. Still has play, of course. Spine whacking is probably not going to fix that, but yeah, I think it's a really great hard use knife. I think it actually does what a hard use knife needs to do. Not only is it just a beefy tank of a knife like an XM18 is, but it's also capable of cutting things, which is why most people need a knife in the first place. Now, prying, I probably wouldn't do it. The tip is not super reinforced, but what it lacks in tip thickness, I think it makes up for in the width of the blade. Even then, I would not pry with it. It just doesn't have the same amount of material as, say, a SOCOM or a Sigil, which is astonishingly pretty thick at the tip. I love this knife. I do not understand why it doesn't get more love, but I digress. Thank you all so much for watching. Sorry about the rambling. I know I'm unorganized and kind of a fool. But yeah, thank you guys. If you've made it here to the end, subscribe, like the video. I don't know, do whatever. Tell me to fuck off in the comments or FaceTime me on Instagram and tell me. That would be fun. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. You guys stay safe. Bye.